What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Depeche Mode. And I'm back to dispel the notion that there's nothing post 2000 or post late 90s worth listening to by the group. Again, I say this teasingly, but at the same time, I am serious that people will know I basically love everything Depeche Mode, including their albums of more recent times, which are not lauded as much, even by longtime fans, and I completely respect that. But there's this thing where they've been my favorite group ever since I was a little kid, and I've always been curious to hear what they're going to do next, and I've always found myself interested and surprised in some cases. But bottom line, even though my favorite stuff will always be the 80s Depeche, and to a slightly lesser or perhaps in some ways more extent, meaning when I was in the 90s I wasn't paying attention to them as much as I was when I was a kid in the 80s. But then over time, I think I've come to see the 90s albums as just as brilliant, and in some ways, like maybe even more masterpieces, even if definitely like not as accessible, say, as the 80s stuff. In any case, we're going to listen to a tune from their 2009 album, Sounds of the Universe, and we're going to listen to Come Back. A tune I think is absolutely fantastic, a track with sonics that speak to like 90s Depeche Mode, at least to me. I feel like even a decade later, decade plus, what, a dozen years? What was it? I forget exactly what year he left. I know it was the second half of the 90s, Alan I'm referring to. But yeah, it feels like even a dozen years later, his sonic influence lingering in some of the compositions. And in terms of the phrase "come back," obviously it's a plea, it's an entreaty, it's a request, it's a command. In that semantic universe, I would put it closest to a plea. It essentially sounds like this person is now in a very dark place that this other person with light in their heart has left. And perhaps it's his own blindness. He says like only blindness can hide it away, and I suppose that means like now that she's gone, like he can't see, he has no idea, he doesn't have bearings anymore. But it also sounds like maybe his psychology and behavior is, he's aware it's not entirely like in a good place, independent of this other person's absence. So it sounds like he needs an anchor. He needs someone who used to be part of his life to come back. But as to the hyper specifics, I have never read anything to give me any insight there. But it's another one that speaks to interpersonal psychology and the complicated feelings. I think there's literally a line, like it's riding the line of love and hate. So yeah, let's listen to it. This is from Sounds of the Universe. The tune is Come Back, and it's from 2009.
In another world, in another place, I could use a little company, a little kindness can go a long way. We stood into months stood into years. Reaching the same conclusions.
sort of, it sounds like light.
In truth and in reality, only blindness can hide it away. I could use a little restraint, a little kindness can go a long way. Weeks turn into months, months turn into years. Reaching the same conclusions, gathering up the fear. You live in the same delusion, gathering up the fear. Gathering up the fear. Gathering up the fear. Gathering up the fear. Come back. Come back. Come back. Come back. Come back.
I think it's brilliant. Again, I totally respect different people's opinions. And as I go through a lot of different deep dives, it's not just Depeche Mode. There's a lot of deep dives where some fans of a group will say it's only after this point that they become interesting. And there'll be multiple other fans who are like, nah, it's at that point that they sort of, they lose the plot for me. This is not unique to the Depeche Mode deep dive, but definitely, I have heard very different opinions. And fair to say, I suppose, for their stuff post-2000, more critical opinions than positive ones, even if still a balance of both. But I defy, I just feel like that's a Depeche Mode tune if I've ever heard a Depeche Mode tune. And I get it. We can talk about different sounds in different eras. We can talk about, comparing albums, although I always feel like, and this is why when people talked about me doing album retrospectives, which I know there's a couple bands that I've promised to do those for, and I'm lagging on that. They were supposed to come in by holiday period. That was just not realistic. But I am working up to do the first of those, and that is actually a Depeche Mode retrospective for the albums. But the point is, I try not to do too much, ranking, too much outright, what's the quantitative score for this one and for that one. I do try to take they're different paintings by the same artist type of thing, where it's okay, maybe on some level I prefer this painting to that, but they're different paintings, and in different days, different moods, maybe I'm more interested to look at this one. So I try to take that approach to albums, including for Depeche Mode. But having said all that, I feel like if you heard Depeche Mode over the years, over the decades, and then you just were given this tune, it'd be that fits very much into their catalog, both sonically and lyrically. Certainly lyrically, I don't think anyone would object to that. It's, psychology between people, and a bit of a I hate you, I love you, you've gone away, but I want you back, but only as it relates to me. It's all those sort of complicated feelings and psychological impulses that they get at in their lyrics. But sonically, it's got that edge, it's got that smoky drag over the tune, it's got some,
high tempo, like percussive layers that really give it a bit of the sort of like rattling edge to it also. It just really has a great dark and gritty type of feel in the environment, talking about heavy emotions, very like human things. So absolutely love it. I completely respect if not everyone agrees, but I felt like, you know, I've been thinking about later Depeche Mode because I'm thinking about doing this retrospective. And it was like, you know what, there's a tune from that album I haven't reacted to that's an absolute killer track. So yeah, I wanted to come back and do this. Shout out to Depeche Mode, and once again, R.I.P. to Andy Fletcher, as well as shout out to Alan Wilder, Vince Clarke, Daniel Miller, you know, Radcliffe, all the people who've been involved in one way or another in, you know, bringing Depeche Mode to the world and developing them over time. So big shout out to all of them. Big shout out to all the people sharing Depeche Mode. Let me know what you think of the tune. I will see you next time. Peace.